All right, welcome back. So in this video, we're going to talk about the blur filter. So before I do that, in the previous video, we opened up the Untitled 1 document here. So I'm going to hit File, Save As, and we're going to save this as 01 3D filter. Okay, and then what I want to do is I'm going to hit Control Shift S, and we're going to save this as 02 blur filter. Okay, so now we can go in here and really, manipulate the objects that we have in here or the layers that we have in here so that I can show you exactly what the blur filter has to offer. So you can see here in the layers panel that I have rectangle 2 selected right now. So go ahead and do that. And then I'm going to click on average. So you're going to see this object here, this rectangle is going to change once I click on this. Okay, so you can see it changed completely from what it was doing before. All right, now if I go to, so this is that's the average blur filter. Now I'm going to do blur. Okay, now you can see here that I have blur and I have average and I have general. So let me do this. I'm going to grab the layers panel here. Okay, let's see if I can detach this. Let's see. Well, let's just enlarge it. So I'm going to hide these panels here. So let's close that panel out. Close this one out. Close the group out. Okay, so let me close this out for a second. And this one too. Because what I want to do is I want to show you what you can do here. So if I double click on this area here, it's going to pop this open and then we can adjust the opacity here. So I'm going to hit cancel and we're going to turn on the blur effect and the general normal map. And I'm going to double click on that one. And you can see when I do that, okay, it basically just allows me to keep the average blur on there. So what we're going to do is we're going to create another object for each effect. Okay, so I'm going to grab the rectangle tool down here and I'm going to draw another rectangle right here and I'm going to change the color to a light blue. So we need 32C7F5. Okay, and I'm going to grab the paint bucket. Actually, not the paint bucket. I'm just going to double click on the little transform area here. Hit OK. Actually, let's grab that right there. So 32C7F5. Hit OK. And now we have the color that I wanted for this. And I'm going to go to Filter. We're going to do Blur and we're going to do Blur. I'm going to convert to a smart object. And there you go. You can see it hasn't done much, which is fine. Now we're going to do filter, blur, and we're going to do blur more. Okay, now again, it's not showing me a lot. So what I want to do is I'm going to go to my web browser. And in my case, it's Firefox. If you're using Chrome or whatever, it's okay. I'm going to go to google.com and we're going to type in cats. Okay, and I'm going to go to images. And we're going to grab this cutie, this cute little kitty right here. I'm going to right click on him, save the image as, and we're going to save it to my desktop here. And I'll close out this browser here. I'm going to hit File, Open, Index, and then what we're going to do is we're going to Control A, Control C, and then paste the cat into here. And now we're going to add the more blur more on the cat. So you can see. Okay, so if I Control Z to undo that, you see how right now it's got a lot of, it shows the cat. Now, they actually have blur in this photo already. So if you look around the cat's head here, they blurred out the background, okay, so that it would focus on the cat, on his face, okay. So if I do filter and I do blur, and we do blur more, it's going to blur his face a little bit, okay. And if I do filter and I do blur, it'll do it a little bit, okay? So that's how you use blur and then blur more. Now, the next one is blur, and we're going to do box blur. Okay. Now, with this, you can do that. I mean, you can really, wow. You can really blur this out a lot if needed. You see, like I can barely see the cat there. And that's only 5. So we could do like that. I mean, that's good there. So I'll hit OK. Then if we do filter and we go to blur and we do Gaussian blur, okay, now you see the radius here, how it's like building a circle around it. I'm going to hit cancel. And then let's Control Z to undo that for the other blur, which was the blur more. So let's do the box blur here. Okay, that was the one we did. And then let's do the Gaussian blur, which is the more circular blur. You see right there, okay? So you can see that. So we can do the radius. So it does like a radius, it does a circular blur around the whole image. So if I adjust that, and I'm just using the down key, the down arrow and up arrow on my keyboard to go up and down, or you can scroll. If you have a scroller on your mouse, you can scroll like that, or you can just type it in. So we can do 5.0, we can do 1.0. If you know exactly what the number is, 2.2, etc. Okay, so I'm going to keep it at 0, 0.0. It won't let me do that. So it has to be 0.1, which is fine. So I'm going to hit cancel on that. And then we're going to do filter, and we'll do blur, and let's do a lens blur. Okay, and with this, it's going to let you do, it has a lot more features here. So it will let you, you can do radius, you can do curvature, rotation, brightness, threshold, amount. Okay, and it's really doing a lot here. So if I take this off and this off and rotation off, brightness off, threshold off, uniform, turn off the noise, okay? Yeah, the noise is really what kind of gives it that look of, now if you do this, okay, that's just gonna, that cat looks possessed now. He was nice and now he looks possessed. You can do blade curvature, we can do rotation, we can do brightness, okay? You can do a lot with this, and that's why this is so fun to talk about, because the filter, the blur filter is really fun, okay? So I'm gonna hit cancel. Let's go to filter again, and we're gonna do blur, and we'll do, let's do the radial blur. Okay, so I can adjust that. If I hit OK, there you go. Now he's spinning out of control and you can't even see him, okay? And then we'll do the motion blur, just so you can see it. That's kind of a popular effect now. Like with promotional videos and stuff like that, they do a lot of glitch effects and stuff like that. And this is kind of a way that you can do that. So I'll hit cancel. Then we'll do the shape blur. Okay. And I can like do it with a different shape. So it's going to blur based on the shape. So like with this one, it's going to just blur in these areas. Okay, like let's do a paw. That's kind of cool for a cat, you know. It'll do it kind of in the shape of the object, right? So I'll hit cancel. And then the other one I want to talk about is the smart blur, okay? So we can do threshold, And this is kind of what they did with this photo originally, because when you don't have any effects on here, you can see that the cat's head is the focal point of the image, and the rest of the background is blurred out. So it's a perfect example for this lecture because we're talking about the blur tool, or the blur filter. Surface blur, okay? That's pretty much what they used to probably edit this photo for the most part. And like I said, there's a lot of different ways to do it. But you see, we just kind of added to what they already did. Now, I kind of like the way they did it better because then you can still see his body, but the focal point is his head, and the head really pops out, which is important when you're using the blur tool, because that's really the whole idea of the effect, is you're trying to fade out the backdrop and then put in the foreground the cat's head in this instance and make him the focal point. All right, so I'm going to hit File, Save, and that's all I have for the blur filter, so I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.